Welcome back to the Pete and Steve podcast. This is episode 148, your local take on local news, and I am glad you're here.
I am too, Pete.
You are? Okay.
I'm glad they're here too.
No, okay. Well, I just wanted to check. I didn't want to speak for you. So
I like the intro, though. No, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. A couple housekeeping things. We've got different technology set up, so hopefully that will help with some of the delay that we were experiencing last time. But I think that's the only housekeeping we have. If you have comments or have stories that you want us to cover, check on the Facebook page, the Pete and Steve group there, and we will try to get you all plugged in. So without further ado, let's get started on the stories.
Okay. Is that where I come in then?
Yeah.
You're our housekeeping expert and all that?
I am. In fact, actually, let me just mention both stories. So we're going to first talk about where the sales tax increase cash is going to be allocated. You're going to cover that one, and then I'm going to talk about the Northstar media purchase of the newspaper group that the Isani County Star belongs to.
Yeah, it's interesting. I hear a lot of tapping there, Pete. So I'm not sure if there's some on your microphone or just so the listeners know we recognize that we do hear that noise going on there. I've got the headphones on, so they're probably more sensitive to hear it. So hopefully they're not picking it up too much. But yeah, no, you mentioned that. And it's interesting as we start getting into the local news how there's a lot of stories to choose from, and so we're just choosing the couple that are the most interesting to us or the things that we feel like we can chat about. But yeah, so kind of continuing the story that we talked about last time with the sales tax and kind of, it got voted down or, didn't pass the referendum. Then I got voted. Then they tried to take it out of the omnibus bill. Then I got added in. It's finally approved by the state, which is exciting. And so the next step was the city council had to, list out the projects that are going to be included. And Linda Wolf talked about all of these different constraints. So it's sort of like this solving the puzzle. Like, what's the optimal choice of projects given all of the constraints? And I'll share the article with you guys so you can kind of see it. Check it out in the paper. But there's a lot of information in here. We're not going to get into all the detail. But they had to go through this process. And then what happens is they submit it to the state commissioner on revenue, and they have 90 days, I believe, to approve it. So what they're looking at now is the sales tax increase will actually go into effect October 1st. So it's a little bit later. It's been passed, but it's going to be a couple months till it actually goes in. And one thing that they pointed out I thought was interesting was that, again, part of this game thing, they have to declare individual projects, and they're trying to figure out like when they can get things done. So there were some things that were initially included in the expected projects that were pulled out. Now that they've got the approval, they're pulled out because actually they can get those things done sooner by going through the general revenues of the city rather than doing it through this special sales tax. So they're talking about things like the splash pad and the pickleball courts. Those are things that they want to add to some of the things in and around Cambridge. And they're taken out of the bill, which people got nervous about. But the reality is they're planning on doing those earlier, like next year, as part of the general revenue. So that's part of the game within the game, I guess, if you will. Now, Peter, are you a pickleball player at all?
I have played pickleball, actually, but just one time.
Okay. Yeah. I have played it one time, too. I don't know. The jury's still out. I'm a tennis guy, as you are, too. So It's kind of hard to go, this is really the thing, but people love it.
Well, they just go crazy for it. And it's almost like a religion to some people. It's like, hey, come out and play pickleball one time. Just come out one time. It's no pressure. Just come out and it's like an Amway thing or something.
Right.
But yeah, I'm with you. I'm more of a tennis guy, and I thought it was okay. And maybe I just need a little more time out there on the courts, but I didn't think it was hard to get used to, I guess.
Well, as Rich Schultz said on Facebook, he said he was duped. He said there were no pickles. Because I'm more in then too. Like, I'm a big pickle guy too. Like, if you win the point, you should get a pickle or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, that stuff is planned on coming next year. I'm sure we'll follow that, but also a splash pad. But things like
enlighten me a little. What in the world is a splash pad?
Now, I'm not, didn't go into the detail there, and I should have researched it. But I think it's just like for little kids. I think it's just a watering place for kids to go, and kind of like a pool area. Only it's just more of a a super shallow. That's what I'm going with. So if I'm wrong, I'm going to look really foolish.
A watering place for little kids, like a watering hole. So if they get thirsty, they just head out the door, go to the watering hole.
Yeah. You can lead a kid to water, but you can't make them splash. Is I think how the saying goes. Cambridge is hoping they can make the kids splash. I don't know if please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my best guess. But it didn't go into the details of that. It just sounds like that was one of the projects that's no longer part of this listing here that they wanted to address and say, no, that's still the plan. Part of Cambridge is still to do that. It's just not part of this bill. So I'll kind of scroll through the article for those of you watching on YouTube as we go so you can kind of see some of this. But basically, I found like 4 categories of where they're allocating this money. And we talked kind of high level last time, but basically the library is getting about $8 million of this. And there's a slight tweaking on the schedule just because of the delay in actually the approval. So right now they're saying substantial completion by April of 2020 with full completion by May. So that's not that far away. That's less than a year away. And they're reusing the building that was there, so it's not as much. But still, within a year, we should have a new library, and we'll be there, right? At least I'm going to plan on being there.
Yeah,
open that sucker up, or at least report back on what we're seeing and try to promote that thing.
Well, and I believe the projected date is April 15th, right?
Well, they said April 15th for substantial completion, in quotes.
Okay, because that's my birthday. So maybe just combine the two, the live grand opening and the Pete birthday.
My birthday is April 30th, so maybe that'll be close to the actual full completion. So we got something going on here. Maybe they celebrate it with a party for us. Yeah. I mean, whoa, that seems like the most logical. Maybe I'll get a hold of who would be Linda Wolf. Maybe I'll see if she thinks that's a good idea. But no, so sometime in spring next year, we should have the new library ready to roll, which is cool. So that's one big chunk, 8 out of I believe it was $22 million. And then again, you can see on YouTube here, and check out your paper for all the details if you're interested in this. But numbers 2 through 6 along the left-hand side there are allocated for street improvements, all of those sorts of pieces. So I'm not going to go through all the details, but they do point out what streets and what roads. So if you live in Cambridge or if you're interested, go check out the article, ChisagoCountyStar.com or Isani-ChisagoCountyStar.com. And I think if you just go CountyStar.com, that'll actually bring you there as well. But check that out or look at the physical paper. A lot of information there, totaling around $11 or $12 million for that. And then the third out of the 4 pieces is associated with the Cambridge Isani Bike Walk Trail and the connection to the city park. So I assume this is the trail that I've been on a few times. There's a really nice, if you guys don't know, there's a really nice walking/biking trail that goes from basically the south end of Goldenwood down into Isanti. And there's one part where there's a real nice wood bridge kind of crossing over a marshy area. And there's all kinds of wildlife in there. Pete, have you visited that trail?
I have. Yeah, that's a really nice trail. But what I will say is it's a pain to get to the trailhead. It's right to get over to that, north side of Goldenwood. And so what it sounds like they're going to connect that to the city park.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm super excited about it because I agree. Like every time I've gone, I've gone from Cambridge, every time I've gone from Cambridge, I need somebody to help me get there.
Yeah. Well, and
where do I start?
What I've done is, and it's actually kind of bad roads and high traffic areas. So like I've had to make the choice. Do I want to ride my bike over there with, my daughters, or do we just load the bikes on the car and take them over there?
Oh,
and so it's not really that convenient at all to get there. So if they connect that, boy, that's a great idea. It seems like.
Yeah. So I was really excited about that because it's just easier for me to go from like Isani because I know where it starts there, like north of the soccer field. So yeah, I think that's part of the plan is to connect those deals. And again, the details here, number 7 along the left-hand side there. And then the last piece of it was the park improvement. We talked about that. And what was interesting is they have to kind of choose one project. And so what they did is they actually chose Sandquist Park to do this. And so they're going to be doing a number of things, including adding a softball field, a baseball field, youth football field, youth soccer field, multi-purpose field, sprinkling, lighting, scoreboards, parking lot improvements, all kinds of stuff. When I read through that list, I was surprised that the number was only $750,000. So I thought that seemed like a reasonable price tag, at least for what I'm understanding the improvements to be. And what they did is because they wanted to get the park improvement. They had a number of different things. They wanted to get that as part of this package. They chose what they thought was the most expensive one, put that as part of this package here. And then the less expensive things like the pickleball courts, the splash pad, whatever those are going to be handled by the general revenue.
Okay.
So that's the plan. With the 0.5% sales increase for the next 25 years or so.
Okay. I had just something to add to that. I'll try to request control. I went to the Cambridge website here. This is ci.cambridge.min.us. And if you go to your government and then click on Balancing Act, it brings up this page that shows the approved 2019 adopted budget. And so you can go through, and it looks like they're looking for feedback where they've got what they approved for the budget in 2019, but you can go through and make changes and say what you would recommend.
Peter, that's not showing up on the screen. Are you sharing it right now or no?
I am. Yes. Let's see.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I'm glad you did. I thought. Oh, there we go. Okay, and
there we go. Yep, now it's up there.
Okay,
that's super interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so this is on the YouTube channel. Of course, if you're listening, this won't make any sense to you, but they've got a bunch of different categories, and they've got listed all the revenue that's coming in. And we had some questions last time about where the city gets its money, and this just does a perfect breakdown. So the property taxes bring in about $5 million, and then transfers in from other funds. I'm not sure what that is exactly. But then there's about $500,000 of licenses and permits, charges for services, fines and forfeitures. Now that fines and forfeitures is $42,000, and so sometimes you'll hear people say, like, if you see a speed trap or something, they'll say, White Bear Lake is raising money or is having a fundraiser or something, jokingly.
Yeah, for sure. No, I hear that all the time. I'm just trying to think through, is that part of that goes into the fines and forfeitures line?
I guess I assume so, but maybe I'm confused.
No, I don't know. It seems like a really small number, though. I agree. Is that kind of your point? If that's all the fines, that's a pretty small number. So
yeah,
they're not raising much money.
Right. And yes, and exactly. So, but anyway, there's intergovernmental revenues, and then licensing and permit is about $300,000. So I just thought that was really interesting because that was one of my questions. How much money does the city get? So if you want to look at that, you just go to that Cambridge, Minnesota page and then click on Balancing Act. And you can see all this information. So.
Yeah, that is actually pretty interesting. As a numbers geek, I could see myself getting into that.
Yeah. So
okay, good stuff. Well, anything else on the allocation of the sales tax bump?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it seems like a good use of money. We talked about it last time. A new library, that'll be great. And the library is going to have like kind of a coffee shop in it. I thought I read.
Oh, okay, nice.
And so it'll be really good, I think.
Good. Well, wherever there's coffee or candy, you're there, right?
I am. Yes.
Candy.
Well, and it's interesting. So I'm getting married in July.
Oh, you are? Congratulations, Pete. I had no idea.
You're in the wedding, Steve. Remember, you agreed to that. Oh. Don't forget.
Shoot. Okay.
No, but Leanne's letting me have a candy bar.
What?
Yeah. So
Dude.
A bar of candy and just table full of candy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Are you going to be eating some during the wedding? Because that would be epic.
Yeah. Most certainly. Yes.
That would be so awesome. You're just up there hammering like a Snickers bar or something. I do.
Eating runts.
You're kind of a runts guy. You are a runts guy. That's kind of one of your things. So Well, officially, congratulations, right? I don't know if we've talked about it on the air or not. I didn't know if you're going to make it public, and risk, having millions of people show up. But, seriously, congratulations. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm really excited. So, yep, didn't think that would actually ever happen again. So,
well, knowing you, I just can't imagine it would have either. I mean, somebody's paying Leanne a lot of cash.
I know it took a lot of convincing, but she finally said yes. So.
John and Heidi have opened up the pocketbook. No, it's awesome, dude.
Yeah. Okay. Well, getting into the next story. So I wanted to talk about the title of the article is.
I'll pull it up, Pete. You can
if you could.
I'm on it. I got it right there.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. So Northstar Media purchases a newspaper, and so this is. I actually learned quite a bit about the newspaper. Well, not quite a bit, but some about the newspaper industry. So the folks that bought this paper, this Carter, who's second from the left, and Gene Johnson, who's all the way on the right. They've got a newspaper group, and it includes quite a few different papers. So working from our top down. So the Johnsons own a suburban group of newspapers based out of White Bear Lake. They've got a group of Wisconsin publications, and then they have ownership in Publishers Printing, which is a central plant in Amory, Wisconsin. And now they've just purchased this other group of newspapers, kind of in the northern north of here. So Pine County, Ascot, Hinckley, the Star Gazette, Moose Lake, Evergreen Shopper, and then the Minnesota Flyer Aviation Magazine, and then as well as all their related web and mobile sites. And so I thought that was kind of interesting, and it made me start thinking about the newspaper industry a little bit, which I don't know much about. One of the kind of distinctions that probably everyone knows about, except me, was the difference between a daily paper and a weekly paper. So are you familiar with kind of the differences there?
Well, this certainly has to be a trick question, because if you don't know the difference between daily and weekly, I'm not sure how you're in such a technical role at a Fortune 500 company. I mean, I need to be talking. I know your boss. I maybe need to be talking to your boss a little bit about. Pete doesn't know the difference between daily. You do hedging on a daily basis, Pete.
I've been doing it on a weekly basis.
Oops.
No, so besides the different time periods, the daily newspapers are mainly for breaking news, and so you can think of like the Star Tribune or what's this, the St. Paul, the Pioneer Press.
Pioneer Press.
And they basically just tell you the story as soon as it happens each day, and then you get updates, the next day, and then the next day you get an update. But weekly newspapers, since they only come out once a week, you have more time to plan the story. Stories get kind of assigned out to the reporters or the journalists, and then they go and get a deeper scoop on things. And so that's just kind of the difference there, which I thought was interesting.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's very different type of personalities. I think that would want to work on different papers as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll get into this or not too, but I found it interesting. Just, this Northstar Media Group is this group that's owned by the Johnsons, that includes the County Star that we partnered with as well. So it's interesting, all of the local papers. I mean, this, but here's a group that owns a whole bunch of local papers in a bunch of different areas, and now they're adding on. And I'm just, I'm so curious about the business model of the newspaper industry and especially small town newspaper industry. What is the business model? How do they get revenue? How do they get income? How do they make it? And I'm assuming it's harder to make it unless you're like a conglomerate where you can start to share overhead expenses and things like they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the things that they do here. They have a central spot for, like the human resources and different, those functions that they can kind of combine.
Okay. Yeah.
I had it listed here, all the different. They have centralized accounting, human resources, and printing and graphic design for the sake of efficiency for all these papers. And so the printing facility is in Cambridge, actually, over by McDonald's there, sort of.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that's kind of cool. Another kind of distinction that I thought was interesting as I was looking into this is the broadsheet versus tabloid newspaper. And I don't know if you knew this, but the broadsheet it has to do with the size of the newspaper. And so the broadsheet are the big, huge newspapers that you have to, hold up like this.
Where the sheets are really broad?
Yeah. They're sheets, and they're broad. Yeah.
Nice.
And then there's the tabloid format, which is what
like the Inquirer, right? That size.
Yeah. Well, or actually, and the Isanti-Chisago County Star is also considered a tabloid.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yep. So it's basically the 11 by 17. And the reason they did that is because it's commuters. It's basically harder to read the broadsheets if you're on the go. So you picture a subway, a whole bunch of these people reading gigantic newspapers. It just doesn't work. So a lot of people like this kind of the smaller tabloid newspapers.
So are you saying we're working for a tabloid newspaper? We're working for a tabloid? Is that kind of what we're doing?
Well, and there's different, and I actually looked at all the etymology and how it kind of broke down and where the names came from. There's kind of upmarket tabloid, mid-market, and down-market. So the down-market tabloids are, kind of what you think of when you think of tabloids. The ones that sensationalize news stories, celebrity things. But this paper is more of like a mid-market.
Okay. Okay. You've learned a lot.
I have.
You've passed on a lot, a wealth of information to our listeners. High value add.
I was interested in the business model too. And, because you think to yourself, man, do people read newspapers anymore? Sort of like the question about the library. Do people even go to libraries anymore? And I think there's a little bit of a resurgence in, kind of the community journalism, like we've got here, but there have been some hits to the industry. And so a lot of the revenue, can be based on classified ads but since the advent of things like Craigslist, where people list their things to sell there, it basically has removed a lot of that ad revenue. Also, the consolidation of the department stores has taken away advertising, needs. And and with all the advent of the online news sources, which don't have some of the overhead, like having the printing presses. And hey, did you see our advertisement just showed up there?
Yeah.
And so so there's a lot of kind of headwinds for the this journalism, but I think one of the things that this segment has going for it is the rise of fake news, where people don't really trust news coming out of these big, huge companies, where you don't know the people reporting, and it's just hard to tell. And so I think there's a move more towards community journalism, where people are going to be, more interested in that.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope there is. I think that's part of. I'm moving in that direction, but just because of this podcast. But hopefully we can help others as well. But yeah, I think that's it. Part of it is the trust factor. I mean, right now anybody can say anything at any point in time. You're like, well, who knows what they're saying? Versus if it's local and you trust the person, they're one of us. There tends to be more of that angle. And I think part of it too for me is who's going to do these stories. I can get all kinds of news for free. I can go watch CNN and get all kinds of international news. I can watch Channel 4 news at night and get all the local the Minnesota news. But who's going to do the stories out of Cambridge?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless there's a mass murderer, or there's somebody who was committed or accused of murder from 30 years ago, or somebody happens to save a deer from a drainage ditch or something. I mean, unless there's some sort of real big news story, it's not going to get told. And so, what's interesting is you go to the County Star here, and now you can find 30 different news stories that are local. and they affect our daily lives. They're people that we know. And so I think that's, to me, the super intriguing part about that. And I think maybe we talked about this, but one of the findings out of the county health assessment done recently was people aren't feeling as connected. And it's the first time that issue has gotten into the top 3 of the county health assessment. And so there's a longing for people to be connected. Now, that doesn't mean they're doing it, but this is an avenue that they can do it. It's another way for them to say, okay, I am connected to part of a bigger community because I use that park. I use Sandquist Park, and they're doing this, and these people are involved in that. And so I think that is a way that people can get more connected.
Yeah, I totally agree.
One thing that stood out from the story too that I don't think you touched on is just sort of the interesting piece of these. The local news for a lot of people, it's their life, right? I mean, it's been their life for many, many, many years. And the story talks about the Franklins who owned all of these papers that they're now selling to the Johnsons. And just, hearing Tim Franklin say, I'm blessed to find another family owner to continue to provide news and advertising to our longtime readers. I mean, it feels like it's more than just a business, right? I mean, they've invested their life in building up this source for local news, and he's talking about how sad it is, and he's grieving this, but happy to be able to handing it off to somebody else that can take the torch. And I just think there's a pretty deep personal element. I think people that really are close to local news and have made that their life, it's a really personal, emotional thing.
Yeah, I just think that's so great when you're rubbing shoulders with the people of your community and people that you care about and communities that you care about. I mean, you can really make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
And yeah.
For sure.
It was kind of a Q&A that I thought with Gene Johnson. And he's, the question was, what are your newspaper's roles in their communities? And he says to be local in reporting, reflect what the community is doing, and encourage areas that are neglected, to report government, but also feature stories and success stories of people. They all have locally written columns from the editor, publisher, or community leaders. We expect our employees to be involved in the community and in charitable organizations. So, I mean, that kind of just says it right there. So,
yeah. Oh, good stuff, man.
Yeah, and actually that kind of made me think. I was thinking about our podcast the other day and ways to get more involved and engaged in the community. And, we talk about that, but, what would that actually look like? And so I thought, man, we should really start showing up at different events and, really get engaged and involved. And one thing I thought that might be kind of cool is to go to different restaurants in Cambridge and have a burger from each one. And then give a little report. Not that it would have to be a competition, but what's the best burger in the area? Who has got the best breakfast in the area? You know what I mean? And then that would give us, you and I, an excuse to, meet up outside of just the podcast.
I love it. And even, not necessarily, who's best, who's worst, but we could have several different categories kind of or just point out what we really liked about the places. Man, I really like their service or whatever. Yeah. That's and it's food. So that's a good thing. And maybe you think people would pay us to come? Think they give us a free burger? Probably not. We probably shouldn't be doing that.
Well, that would be a conflict of interest then.
Would it though? Would it? I'm interested in food. I don't see a conflict there.
If they're giving us free food or giving us money, then we might be tempted to say, well, your burger is the best. So then the next place would just have to pay us more and say, actually, your burger.
I like where this is headed. They might have to give us steak. Well, yes and no. But I mean, if we're not doing it as a competition, if it's more just, hey, we're going to go and just share what our experience was. I mean, so I'm a positive guy. So I mean, I would see, it's not about going to Applebee's and then going to the local in Stark and saying which is better. I think it's going to Applebee's and saying, here's what we enjoyed. The burger was really good. I love their fries. The atmosphere is kind of, it's a little bit louder, but it's kind of fun, a higher energy. The server was great. And then you go to the local, say, yeah, it was kind of a different experience. It was smaller, more intimate, really cool sort of structural thing. I like that they've redesigned it. So I think they're just different. I don't know that it's a competition.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a different feel. I mean, even driving out to the local, it's kind of a rural, and that road is fun to drive on. And so, yeah, it's a totally different feel.
I like it, man. I like it. I like where this is going.
Yeah, well, if you, I guess, and maybe we could do this. We'll say like, whoever's first to offer a free burger, we'll go there first. So it's like,
how about it doesn't even have to be free? Let's like, because I don't want to be pandering. I mean, I was kind of being.
That's true.
I mean, we'll take free food, but I don't want to be pandering for that. But I think maybe the first restaurant to say, hey, do us, come have a meal with us. It doesn't have to be free. Just hey, talk about us. Come have a meal. We'll do it. Or maybe even if there's a swell of listeners who recommend a place. And you just know they're all going to say Willard's because that's the cliche thing right now. And it is amazing. And I wouldn't mind another one of their burgers. But it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, how about that deal? Kind of wherever there seems to be the most interest, we go check out first.
I like it. And what if someone makes a comment and says, well, I've got just a great casserole. Come over to my house and try out my casserole.
I mean,
we do that too, right?
Well, I don't know if we go to their house. I mean, there's a lot of creeps out there. but we'd eat would we eat the casserole? This is like taking homemade Halloween candy. I would probably, but I would love. I mean, that's even more Minnesotan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a casserole cook-off and let's try them all, man. It's food. I mean, I know you already have a standing prioritization of which runts are best.
Mm-hmm.
But people could just give you a whole bunch of runs and you could rate them and pretend you don't already have a system. That way you get a whole bunch of free runs.
Well, and actually I should say that I got to fit into the tux, man. July is less than 2 months away. So I'm going to kind of cut down a little.
But the runs are good for like 8 years. So I think you're good. So
that's
true. You could get the runs in advance. Maybe we hold off on the casseroles for a little while.
Yeah.
Oh, I like where this is going, man. Yeah, I know. I agree. Let's get out in the community more. Actually, I'm heading out to Vegas in 2 days from now. We release this on the day we release this, unless we release Saturday, heading out Sunday, and it'll be gone for like 10 days. So we're going to do this. I'll be in Vegas next week when we do this. But when I get back, then you're going to be preparing for the wedding. But we'll figure out a time to do something more like that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That would be super fun.
Yeah, I mean, and there's great burgers. The Cambridge Bar and Grill's got a great burger. Willard's, of course, the local, Applebee's has great burgers. So we got a lot of choices.
And at some point, I think as we go, as there's the listenership continues to increase, we bring the microphone and we get some real time feedback from people.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like about the local? Let's get some of that stuff. But no, it sounds like a good time for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I wanted to share one more thing, if I may. It's a story. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. Sort of a sad note, but my great uncle Donn passed away.
Oh, I saw that. I was wondering if he was related.
Yeah, so he was my grandpa Jerry's brother. So he just passed away. So some of you might remember Fredlund brothers from way back in the day. That was part of his deal as well. But super active, singing a lot. He was a realtor for many, many, many years. You can read his whole backstory, on the obituary there. But he was a real estate agent for a long time. He actually sold us this house, and then he was really active in like the East Central Minnesota Chorale and loved to sing. He actually sang in our church last year too. So just a really sweet, nice dude. And I agree. The family said they could never remember once him losing his temper.
Wow.
I can't either. And so just wanted to give a shout out to my great uncle Donn, great dude. And it was kind of a surprise to us. He had some health issues that he kept confidential. So then he just passed away. So just wanted to share that, kind of a sad note, but also a celebration of his really good life.
Yeah. Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so anything else, man?
No, I don't. We could go through some of the activities. I haven't really prepared for that, but again, don't forget Abraham Lincoln's going to be at the Rush City Library.
Again, I'm sorry. I just feel like I have to cut in here. It's not actually Abraham Lincoln. I was duped last week by Pete. I thought it was Abraham Lincoln. It's somebody pretending to be Abraham Lincoln, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're so funny, Steve.
And that's tomorrow. That's June 8th. So
we're airing this. Pete, you got to figure this thing out, man.
Dang it! I am like
telling people what's happening the Saturday before we release. Hey, everybody, here's something else that you missed. I might release on Saturday just because I'm heading to Vegas super early Sunday. But sorry, Pete, go ahead.
Okay. No. Oh, ice cream social in the city park, June 10th. Is that going to be too late?
No, that's Monday, June 10th.
Yeah.
Ice cream social in the park. What do you have details on that? Like what time and
Yes, I do. Cambridge City Council will offer free ice cream and hold open dialogue with residents on the city and the 2020 budget from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the Cambridge City Park.
Okay, so y'all go to that now. You're a little bit more informed, right? We've talked about the sales tax increase. We've talked about the pros and cons of that, where that money's going. That sounds like that's kind of locked up, but you can get details there. But you can also talk about what's going to be used with the general revenue. You can even talk about some of the other pieces that are going on there. So here's an opportunity to connect around something of interest. If what we've been talking about sort of piqued your interest, like, oh, I didn't even know that. Let's talk about that. Yeah, go to that. Go have some ice cream and chat with the council. I think that's great.
Well, and it's been so nice lately. Last night, it was just this fantastic weather, just kind of a cool summer evening or warm summer evening. And I felt so guilty that I wasn't enjoying it and spending time outside because I was doing errands and other things inside. And I'm like, man, there's something really wrong about this. We wait all winter long. I'm inside. And so this is an excuse to get outside, hang out with the community, have some ice cream. And
yeah, we were at my nephew Casey's graduation down St. Louis Park last night, and it was perfect.
Oh, I know. I love it. I just love it.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, but actually, Ruby's Pop-Up Pantry. Have you heard of this thing?
I know Ruby's Pantry. Yeah, I don't know Ruby's Pop-Up Pantry, but I know Ruby's Pantry. I mean, I don't know if that's different. I don't know if that's if they're doing something different where it's a little bit more portable, or they're doing more locations or something.
Oh, this is going to be held at the New Hope Church. But tell me about this Ruby's, because I hear it's just fantastic. You go there and it's food. It's very cheap food.
Yeah, I think it might even be a giveaway. But yeah, it's either a giveaway or super cheap food, with the idea of helping people out that that it's very difficult for them to go to Cub and spend full price on different things. So I don't know a lot about it. I haven't actually attended it. I've just heard really good things about it over the years. So again, if I'm wrong on that, please forgive me on that. Mm-hmm. And that's my perception of what it is. So if my perception is wrong, I think that's a challenge then to the leaders of Ruby's Pantry to say, oh, okay, well, our brand in the community isn't what it should be. So,
and I do have some details. Let me just so it's going to be June 15th. They're going to be at the New Hope Church in Isani, which is you can probably look up where that is.
It's the former Elam Church down there, right by the railroad tracks.
Okay. Yep. And registration starts at 8:30 a.m. And for $20 donation, you can receive grocery items. Open to anyone, no income requirements. Bring your own boxes. So it sounds like you pay $20, then you can get groceries. Boy, that seems like a really good deal.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that's a great service. So yeah, if you could take advantage of that, take advantage of that. If you know people that could use that sort of assistance or that sort of help, tell them about it, or just go buy the groceries and give it to them. I mean, for $20, a lot of people have 20, 40, 60 bucks just sitting around that they don't really have to do anything with. Go buy 1, 2, or 3 of these packages and give them to people that that could really use them. I mean, that's part of how we build community. It doesn't have to be a government program. It doesn't have to be a church program. It's just individuals saying, I want to make the world a better place. I've got $20. I'm going to go get some food, deliver it to them and say, have a good day. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And with all the government programs, they're just stretched. Their budgets are so thin and they just don't have money left. And so the question is, well, if the government can't do it, then who's going to do it? Well, the answer is we are.
Good people.
Yeah, the communities take care of each other. And so that's what you're saying is a perfect example of a way to do that. So
yeah. Wonderful. Good stuff there, Pete.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sure there's hundreds of more things. What else? Anything else standing out?
No, there is 100. I mean, I see a summer Lego derby at the Rush City Library. That sounds like very interesting. But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. Check the Out and About page in the newspaper this month. You'll be able to read all about that stuff.
Awesome. I like where you're going with us getting out there and about too. It'd be super fun to kind of pick one of those things every week or two and go do it and come back and report on it. I think that'd be super fun. Yeah,
for sure. Okay, well, I guess we'll kind of wrap things up here. Again, if you have any questions or comments, go to Facebook. We've got the Pete and Steve group out there. And let us know how we're doing if you have any suggestions or feedback. So,
yeah, no, and it's been fun. First couple of weeks of the relaunch have been really fun, really good feedback. A lot of people interested in Dr. Queener's interview last week as well. So so keep the input coming. Like Pete said, sorry, I'm kind of stomping on your ending here, but it really is. Feedback is the lifeblood of any podcast, of anything that people do, because people are listening and you're all listening, going, "Oh, I liked it," or "I didn't like it," but we don't know that. Okay, we don't know what's in your mind, and so it's super helpful for you to tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want more of, what you want less of. So please respond, either comment on the YouTube channel or fit the Facebook group, or email me directly if you want, stevefredlund@gmail.com. Let us know what's rattling around inside that head of yours.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody. We will talk to you next week.